Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Majid. How are you?
Doing good, sir. Thank you. What about you?
Yeah, fine.
Glad to hear that.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Arulmati.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, you have joined today. I mean, on Friday also.
Uh, I want to. I get interested. That's. I skipped some of the
Yeah,
works.
actually, it's good that you joined today because we are talking about a very, very important standard applicable in all devices. I mean, that's for QA and RA to understand. I mean, anybody to understand, whether it's in clinical, QA, RA, maintenance, any department, they should have some understanding on ISO 13485.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll discuss
Thank
that.
you.
Uh, I understand that Somant and Madhusri will not be present because they have some training sessions in their company.
So I talked with my company regarding the revision of ISO 13485 2026. Am I audible to you?
Hmm.
So they say that there is no authentic source which um, specify that that will be the revision. So I'm confused how to
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, I agree with your company opinion. See, there will be two things that can happen. One is like there will be a lot of addition of amendments to the existing 13485 2016. Okay, there will be a lot of changes in the sense, a lot of amendments will be added to the existing ones. Like say, once the US FDA or 21 CFR 820 of the QSR quality system regulations of US integrates, okay, with 13485 2016, that will be a big change. Okay, and I also mentioned to you that there will be a lot of other integrations that are going to happen. So what US FDA recommends is, to my knowledge, USA is not, I mean, US FDA is not such an, I mean, a minor, it doesn't have a minor stake. When it enters with full vigor. So they may enforce the ISO body, okay, to bring out a total revamp and bring it as a new version. That is my expectation. Because actually Europe already has EN ISO 13485. So once the FDA enters, no, it becomes too powerful. Like ISO becomes ISO 134, becomes, I mean, like bit critical because they add a lot of changes in mainly in the design controls, okay, the clinicals and also on the risk. I mean, risk in the sense, the clause 8, like on the complaint handling, they are very, very particular on the complaints, complaint handling, correct CAPA in the clause 8. See, they have created separate software like Mode for taking up the complaints. Even yeah, Europe also started in a similar way copying FDA, US FDA, like they started Udemy, like Mode. I mean, so it to my assumption, like US won't enter just like other countries in baby steps. They enter with full force if they want to integrate their QSR with 13485. And also, obviously, there will be some changes which I discussed. You go through the document I discussed. There will be obviously a lot of changes that are happening with integration of. I mean, I also told 10993 the backcompatibility studies. Okay, that will be a revamp. You'll have a new version coming up, and there are some changes that are also happening in the existing document on basically the definition of medical device. Okay.
Exactly correct, sir. Here in Canada, everyone is expecting the same ISO 13485 is going to be renewed, maybe with stringent rules and regulations in the documents.
It will be not like say, as I told you the other day, maybe in the first session or second session I discussed, it's not like I told you, it's not that you have a complaint, I do a correction and prevention and I do all that stuff. You need to predict the complaint. I mean, this is what I said, it's a predicative analytics. Okay. Because once you have a trend of complaints that are happening, okay, you should do some trend analysis and able to predict that what could be the complaint that is happening, that could come in the future. And take a very concrete step. I mean, Masjid, I could say, I mean, to me, Kappa is an, of course, when I'm working, Kappa is such a major thing, but we need to move from Kappa to a much safer options for the patients. Okay, not being reactive after getting a complaint or doing some stuff for Kappa or preventive action. Basically, on the patient safety, we should do much more with the available resources. Basically, on the predictive analytics which are there in AIML. Okay, of course, I'll show you when I said like I think I shared a document where I'm going to integrate. I mean, I think I have not discussed this. I only shared the document with you where I am going to integrate AML with QMS. All the class of QMS that I'll take as a separate session, maybe during after our sessions during capstone project, where I can help you. I mean, in a very, very simple way. Of course, you need some understanding on the machine learning. That also I'll tell you. It's not that you need to learn Python or you need to learn all the algorithms. That is not the case. Okay, once you have the data input, data as the input, okay, there will be some processing parameters that we need to understand and you'll get the output. Okay, if you have seen the document, it's a 3-step procedure where you can apply it in every clause that obviously will have, end of the day, you'll have an very logical connected process connections. Okay, I mean like the process interactions where you can see revolving around like from your complaints to PMS, again back to design, all that stuff. And most importantly, it will be very impressive for the auditors to have that flow coming in. Anyway, we learned that. But I know like some companies don't have that technology or people from software in their companies who can teach them. But I'm pretty sure like in a year or two, this will be the scenario of how you address your QMS. It's all risk-based. I said, no, you need to write an risk-based quality management system, which is called QSR.
Understood, sir. So, you mentioned one thing that the medical device definition might change. So, can
Yeah.
you elaborate that a little, sir?
Yeah, actually, I mean, if you look at the definition, I mean, it's a very big story. Like medical device definition change a lot of times. Okay. And medical device as per IS, you don't see the medical device definition in 9001 because it's applicable for all systems. If you see the medical device definition, which we'll discuss, 13485, it is very short. I mean, it doesn't include a lot of devices, and there is a lot of ambiguity, confusion in what medical device is as per the definition. But if you look at the EU MDR definition, it is a three-page definition, you know. Three-page definition as per EU MDR 2017 of a medical device. I'll share that with you. For a simple example, let's say disinfectants have come into medical devices. Okay, all devices that are used in conception has come in, and all wearables. Okay, you see of late you have lot of variables where there is lot of monitoring of your pulse or temperatures. Okay, and these are coming to medical devices. And the worst thing is like I mean, I was shocked to understand that suppose somebody is wearing lens, colored lens. Okay, generally lens for vision correction come under medical devices. But if I'm wearing a lens, colored lens, okay, to change the color of my pupil for my fashion or design,
Mhm.
just fashionably, I want to have some lens. Still, it is considered as a medical device. And also, like we have a lot of oximeters coming in, watches that can monitor your heartbeat, pulse, all that stuff. Okay, what we call wearables, and some of the gadgets also have been included into the medical devices, even simple things like the disinfectants. I'll tell you, I mean, the list of, there is a short list as per 13485, but 13485, but I mean, in some regulations, it's too elaborated. Yeah, but it's good that the purview or the definition of medical devices is much elaborated. Okay, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. I think like 10, 11 people joined. 2, 3, as I said, they won't be joining because they're traveling. Another two, Anjali and Dolly Singh, they're more interested in regulatory. Okay, we'll see. I think some may are traveling back to their office based on the WhatsApp messages. They may join in a half an hour, but it's better we continue because as I said, like I'll be discussing about a very, very important topic, the pillar of the QMS or the pillar of the medical devices, that's ISO 13485 2016. And perhaps I told you the history of it. What is ISO 13485? How it was derived? Okay. And just a recap, like I think I have told you what's the difference between 13485 and 9001.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference? I shared one document also. What's the difference between 9001 and 13485?
So 13485 is basically made for the medical devices specifically, and 9001 is a general requirement which companies produce for the QMS purpose. Secondly, there is no kind of risk management or any technical documentations in 9001, whereas 13485 follows all this risk management based on the product or the scope that we are going to take in our certification. So these are the two right now I remember, sir.
Yeah, of course, you're absolutely right. That are the two. And the other thing is like,
This, sorry, sir. This ISO 13485 is built on 9001. Basics is same, but ISO 13485 is with stringent regulations for, especially for medical devices.
yeah, that's true. But as I mean, to sum it up, like say, it's more 13485 is risk based. Okay, both talk about customer satisfaction or customer requirements. As Aman or somebody said, like totally agree with it. 13485 is, I mean, 9001 is the foundation for 1345, and especially for medical devices in whatever services you are, whether it's manufacturer, design, or anything. And the second thing is like you have risk-based approach in 13485. Okay, where you don't see it in 9001. Okay, and the third thing, very, very important, is you need to have regulatory compliance, which you don't see in 9001. Okay, you need to have regulatory compliance when you are talking of 13485. Okay, you have a QMS 13485, either you should adhere to the regulations of IMDR. Okay, if you want to sell it in India, if, if you want to sell it in Europe, EU MDR, okay, the country specific regulations you need to imbibe with your 13485, okay, to make it an overall compliant system. It's not that you exclude the regulations and make just have only 13485 QMS. That's one of the most important change that happened in 2016 compared to the 2003 ISO 13485 document. Okay. The previous preceding was in 2020, I think it's in 2003 we got ISO 13485, and before that it's in 1995. And the major change, I said, no, the regulatory compliance that has to be done, and the risk-based thinking. Okay. And every process, the other thing is process interactions. Every process is linked. You start from anything from your design till your PMS or your product realizations, and all that are interlinked, what we call process interactions. And I mean, last class or last session, I also discussed there will be going to be the grading system in non-compliances or NCs. It's not that major, minor, or observation, something like that. Okay, you'll see a grading system which is going to become very stringent. Okay, and I also discussed something, or what are the expected changes that can happen in 2026. Okay, I shared this document also. I also discussed with you what are the action points or actionable items that you can take now. Okay, uh, I mean, to be ready than the others, because you will have that what you call an edge over the others if you start working on this for the QMS 2026. And I also discussed something on the revision that is going to happen in biocompatibility, and that will be released in 2025. I mean, in a month or two. And I talked about ENISO. Somebody can tell what is ENISO? ENISO 13485 2016.
European nation.
It's an
Yeah, it's 13485 applicable for the MDR for the European countries, because it's called ENISO. And suppose I mean, like, you want to market your products, devices in Europe. Okay, you need to have ENIS. What's the difference is, like, some of the regulations in the EU MDR 2017 746 for medical devices and 745 for devices, 746 for IVDs. Some of the sections from the regulations have been integrated with 13485. Okay, there could be some 10 or 11. I think I have showed to you, or when we come to EU MDR, I'll discuss what are those 10, 11 sections that need to be integrated with 13485. And this document will, I mean, this documentation will now become ENISO. Okay, which is not mandatory for IMDR, or if you want to sell it in India, it's not mandatory. If you have ISO 13485, it's fine. But ENISO is something very peculiar and pertinent and specifically directed to EU. Okay. And these are some of the things which discuss. So what I advise is, once I share some documentation, better you review them. Okay. I told this in the last session to make you understand that there are a lot of changes that are going to happen. Okay. Mainly in ISO and also on the regulations. When I come to MDSAP, I'll discuss with you what will be the major changes in the MDSAP. Most of you, I think by this time, you know what MDSAP was, where a lot of countries are coming in to have, say, once US come in into the fold of ISO, and other countries like Singapore, Korea are also joining. This becomes a global QMS or global ISO or a global QMS system. And the other side of the coin, okay, then you are also going to build up global regulatory files or global technical files, or you have something like a bin. You dump all your files, okay, all the files that are required in a bin or in your system, and pick up what is required for the country and cater to them. Okay, or otherwise you can have a full-fledged regulatory file or medical device file. Okay. To start with this, before I go, I said, like, this is very, very important. Of course, I mean, like, yeah, for a lot of people, I mean, for any medical device professional, 13485 is important. But some people like it more, some may not are much favorable to the standards. Some are very resistant to, I mean, you see in your organizations also, people will be very resistant to some of the standards that are stated, or your SOPs. Follow the SOPs practically. Though you documented, it's a system that, I mean, that naturally comes to our Indian population, that it's like our schooling system. See, will be very great and very good in theory. Okay, theoretical part we can get. I mean, we can do wonders in theoretical aspects, but on the application part will be very poor. Okay, even ISO document is also like that. If you asks about the SOPs, all that, we have all the pack of bundled SOPs, everything updated, ready. But when you look at the SOPs that on the shop floor, the application part, then you'll find a lot of gaps, lot of NCs that happens. Because we don't really care for the application. We like too much of documentation about creating SOPs, writing the SOPs, creating the data, writing the data records and all that stuff. But on the shop floor, real implementation is lacking. That is why it's very imminent. Once we enter into the global QMS, this will become very, very important that you need to adhere uh, from class 1 to class 8. And it's not like the QA has to take care or quality assurance guy has to take care. It becomes important for everyone in the organization, from a shop floor guy or shop floor guy, even to the management, that everybody should understand and take care of their responsibilities. When I come to the responsibilities and accountabilities, I'll tell all this stuff. Okay. And the other thing which I also foresee is, like, we do something, but we don't document it. This basically happens in design and development, and also in product realization, or mainly in the production. We do a lot of things, but we don't document it. Again, it's also the Indian way of, traditionally it is coming in the Indian system. Like, when you look at the 18th or 19th centuries, we have great Indian scholars, whether in literature or science or in sciences, others. They have done a lot of things, like you have Aryabhatta, C.V. Raman, a lot of people have done a lot of things, but they are not documented. That is the problem with Indian system. Either we document and do nothing, or do everything and don't document it. This exactly suits what we are going to discuss in ISO 13485. So if the bottom line for everything is, if you are not documented, it means you have not done it. If you have done it, it has to be documented. So coming to 13485, I said, like, it's a bit mercurial subject. It's uh, bit volatile subject. Sometimes you get disconnected. Even I get disconnected when I go through a lot of things. Of course, I was been reading this or practically implementing this since last 10-15 years. But somewhere you get disconnected, unlike the regulatory documentations where you feel involved and there is a logical way of doing it. So suppose you write a CR or a risk management or usability files in the regulatory, you feel connected and there is a flow. There is a logic how you connect it to IFUs and all that stuff. But here there will be some areas where you get disconnected. Even I get disconnected. But we'll see how best we can understand this. And I know most of you working professionals would have implemented this in your system, in your manufacturing unit. But I'll tell you some of the areas where there is a possibility of more non-compliances that can happen. And I also help you to understand that how to overcome that NCs. Okay. See, there are 4 important things. Please remember these 4 when you are starting understanding ISO 13485. Okay. One is, as everybody said, it is applicable. When we come to the scope, I'll explain. It's applicable to all medical device companies, whether you are doing Akshay, can you mute? Okay. Where am I? This is how in 13485 we'll lose the flow, get disconnected somewhere. See, it's applicable for all medical devices, even if you do just assembly or a sterilization. So it covers a total umbrella. That's the first point. Don't think that just I'm doing sterilization 13485 is not applicable, or I'm just assembling some parts, or I'm just doing design and development. It's not applicable. It's applicable for the total manufacturing activities, or for all medical devices, all processes that that take place in the medical device manufacturing. And the second thing which I told very important is that these are all process linked, process integrated, process interactions are there. It's not like every process is a separate one or every process is standalone. Okay, the other day we discussed that how interconnected they are. Okay, and we also know that it is the basic foundation was built on PDCA cycle. But PDCA is such an outgone concept. We have new concept coming, and PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. It's a very old concept. Some 30-40 years back, but now we have new concepts coming more on the process interactions process interactions forming a closed loop system. And the other most important thing is the regulatory compliance. Your ISO 134 should be having regulatory compliance with the country where you are going to market it. Okay. And the other thing is very important thing is that this standard is applicable not just after the use or post marketing or after use in the patient. There are some devices where you need to document total life cycle of the device. Okay, when you come to some medical device implants, okay, you need to have a data even after implantation in the patients up to 3 to 5 years based on the risk of the device. Also in some devices like the SOMED, okay, the total life cycle of the product has to be device has to be documented. So these are 4-5 corners which has been emphasized. One is applicable to all processes in the medical device. Second is it is an process interaction, process based, which are looped up. Third is it's a risk based, okay, process, a risk based thinking in every process you start. Okay, you start from class 4 to class 8, everything you need to apply risk. Okay, and the other thing I told, it involves total life cycle of the device. Okay, end of the day, all this, okay, when you combine all this, the basic purpose of ISO 13485, can anybody tell what is the basic purpose of the 13485? Why should we adopt 13485? Can't we make quality
Patient,
system? Yeah,
patient safety.
yeah, that's great, Vaibhav. Yeah, end of the day, we are looking at patient safety. Some say like without 134, when I was first, way back, when I was first hearing about 13485 and training session, I asked, my first question was when I'm very new novel to this 1348. I asked, my first question was like, can't you produce quality products without 13485? And the answer was that yes, you can do it, but I mean, that time the trainer gave a very bad answer. I don't want to tell her. He said like it's just getting a degree certificate uh, or a PhD certificate from a good university. I think that's not the answer. But to have, when you have a QMS, you will have a continued sustained quality product. It's not that one batch you have and one batch you don't have. When you follow the process systematically, you'll have a continual, okay, sustained quality product, okay, addressing the patient safety. And we talk more on safety than the performance of the device, okay, or the efficacy of the device. Because safety is more important. If your device performs or doesn't perform, there are some other options of treatment. But when it causes some morbidity and the worst case mortality with some implantable devices, that's I really appreciate Vaibhav for. I mean, earlier, Vaibhav, why I'm saying this, earlier people used to think like, I mean, still I hear this. Still today also people say customer satisfaction is important in ISO 13485. So in for us medical device people, who is the customer? Is the hospital or the doctor or the technician or the distributor? So till today I hear this, many people say that 13485 is basically for customer satisfaction. That days are gone. It's not customer satisfaction or customer requirements, but it is patient safety. Okay, have you understood my point? So before,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, don't look at the customer or how much he pays or how much discount we give. All that stuff is different. But look at the patient safety. Just keep in your mind if you are in QC or in QA that anything that goes wrong directly or indirectly will affect the patient, and that is, I should not use this word, that is criminal. Okay, you are doing a crime because knowingly you are doing it. If you do it unknowingly, that's fine. But knowingly you are after you have heard all these training sessions, master classes, and you know what to do, but still you avoid. I mean, that's nonsense and stupid. Okay. So, I mean, these are a few words, but all have to have a proper understanding that whatever it could be a startup or a SME or MSME or an MNC, okay, you need to have a very strong foundations on IS 13485 in all the class, okay, basically from class 4 to class 8. And in that, I'll tell you some clause which have a very, very direct impact on the product safety. Okay, maybe you can look at clause 1, clause 2, or clause 3, which may not be important on product safety. But even clause 4 also may not have, but clause 4 deals more with the documentation, records, all that stuff. When you come to clause 5 on the management, what is the management doing? Okay, and clause 6, 7, and 8. These are very, very important, and in them there are some subclause which basically you feel very interested. And also, guys, I'm also going to tell you, of course, after we complete this, there are 3 things which we are going to do. I'm going to share a lot of SOPs with you. Okay. Mm, to make you understand for every clause, something like if you want, I can share you a quality manual. Hierarchically, I can say quality manual and QSPs Down you have SOPs, then you have some data and records is personal, but I can share you the templates of how the records or the forms look like. So once you understand this clause, okay, you basically write your SOP or QSP. Okay, we can take the highest level or level 1 document, the quality manual. Okay, you should also learn to write these processes. Okay, the good thing is once you write these processes of your own, okay, it becomes easy for you to implement in your system. Okay, it becomes very easy, I should say. Of course, I do agree that there will be some SOPs written by your preceders or somebody who worked before you, but you need to critically analyze the SOP whether it is as per the regulations that are there, sorry, as per the standards are there in ISO 13485. I do understand studying total 13485 document is really tedious and boring. Okay, but somehow we need to feel interested. I mean, uh, look it into from a different angle. Okay, not a standard, but something very important for patient safety. Okay, and basically understand the clause. And this is the first thing which I'm going to do today. Okay, and first 5-10 minutes, we'll discuss only on the clause, subclause, because again, I'm repeating, guys, you need to remember this. This is a memory thing which is not so logically linked or analytically you can derive something. You need some memory in 13485, basically remembering the clause. Okay. I think clause 1, 2, and 3 you can remember easily. Okay, clause 1 is the scope. Of course, I'll explain you later what is scope and how to write the scope, all this stuff. The second is normative references. Okay, again, I'll tell what this normative means. There will be other informative references, lot of type of references. There will be, okay, exclusion, inclusion criteria when you talk of scope, the difference between exclusion and non-applicable. You can't exclude every clause as you like. Okay, it depends upon your scope. Terms and definition, of course, here you need to understand there are two documents that are very much linked to 13485. Okay, one is 10091, sorry, 9001, which we discuss later. The most important, which should be a pocket book for you, is ISO 9000, because this speaks of all vocabulary. It should be like a dictionary for you. Okay, like how you carry an English or Oxford or some dictionary. This should be like this document you should carry aside when you are compiling or when you are writing the SOPs or any documents related to QMS. Okay, I'll explain you why you need to do this. Okay, the third one is terms and definitions. First, scope, normative references, terms and definitions. There is some importance for this scope. Okay, normative references, terms and definitions. Okay, we'll discuss that. And stepping into the real world. Okay, that's a quality management system. We have general requirements. Okay, 4.1. This you need to remember. Clause 4 is QMS and 4.1 is general requirements. In general requirements, it talks more general, not specific to one process. Okay, but it says that it has to have a process approach, which we already discussed. What is a process approach? Process interactions, process link, okay, closed loop system. So every process is interlinked. Second is outsourced process control. If you are outsourcing any processes like the sterilization or design and development or some assembly, okay, or even some biocompatibility studies. what is the control you have on the process? Okay, it has to be documented. Just don't think that because I'm outsourcing it, it's not my responsibility in QMS. Okay, all outsourced process come under your QMS and you should have a control on that. Because there are a lot of companies which outsource a lot of things which can't be done or which are better done outside or which are done at a lower cost outside. Okay, some do packing, labeling outside and all this stuff. Okay, and these documented procedures will talk of it. This I said risk-based thinking. In every process you need to apply risk. Okay, at end of the day, I'm going to give a very great, very important document. Very few people hold. Okay, that is quality risk management. For each clause, each subclause, I'm going to tell you, okay, what is the hazard, how to do hazard analysis, okay, or risk evaluation, what is the risk mitigation or risk control documents, okay, and what could be the residual risk. Is the risk acceptable? For every clause and subclause in 13485, I have documented it. Okay, you feel good when you see a quality risk management file. Basically, nobody will attempt to do that because in the sense we focus more on the risk files or risk management reports or risk files related to the product or the device. But it's quite important and imperative that you need to have a risk management system or quality system management in your QMS also and see what are my hazards, how to do a hazard analysis, what is the harm or harm that can turn to hazard, okay, hazard that can later convert to a risk and risk that can further complicate if you don't have any risk control or mitigation that further may lead to an complaint which could have a lot of severity or probability. We call it as risk index. Or some call, US they use RPN, risk probability number. Okay, that we have a separate session on risk management. One of the topic which I like most is on risk management, apart from design and development. Of course, I like Summit and doing work with AML. So, okay, this is the one I'm saying. Validation of computer Summit and all that stuff in QMS. This is a very general, 4.1 is very general. It talks like how should your process approach. And guys, I'm going to tell you the first audit question that comes is, they'll ask you where is your process interaction diagram or table. Okay, but it's easy to draw the process interactions, but to write a table or a chart, to prepare a table or a chart, what are the process interactions? But you need to interconnect, okay, all the processes. It's not like it rounds in a circle, it goes in a circle. See, somewhere design development suddenly comes into link to purchase. Okay, somewhere purchase will enter into production and design development may get connected into production if there is no proper design transfer. Okay, and there is a management review that can enter into the CAPA, and CAPA can enter into design and development. Suppose you are compliant, you have not done a proper CAPA. Okay, if your CAPA is not effective, then it has to go back to the design or change in designs. So there will be a lot of interlinks, interconnection. It looks like a spider web, but you need to understand what are these interlinks. I will show you all this stuff. Okay, and the worst, and sorry for using this word worst, but the very important thing in the QMS is documentation requirements. Okay, I have done some pooling of data on the NCs of a lot of companies, and and also done a multiple pooling and looked at the NCs. Okay, most of the NCs, most in the sense, if I should say quantitatively, is 30% of the NCs that have come are from 4.2. Okay, documentation requirements. And most importantly, in them, if you still figure it out, okay, poke your nose or finger into that and see what is the most common NC in the 4.2. This is the one, 4.2.4 or 4.2.5. Okay, control of documents and control of records. Control of records is nothing but control of your data, how you are storing the data or how you are entering the data. Control of documents is a big issue. In any QMS, this is a big issue. Okay, quality manual, you don't find much because this you write it once a year. Okay, with quality objectives and all that stuff. Okay, medical device file is important. Of course, medical device file also you don't make changes every time. But the most living documents, okay, that talks about your QMS is 4.2.4 and 4.2.5. Okay, which I mean, wherein you need to generate a lot of documents day in, day out on your records or in change out or control of documents that are happening. And when the auditor finds that okay, your document control system is not fine, okay, I'm afraid like it may go into either I'll tell as of now we use these words major and minor NC. Maybe later I'll tell you on the grading system. Okay, this will become a major NC for some clause like COPPA or non-conformity products, something like on design transfers. You don't have proper control of documents. Okay, you should have the current use documents, current master copy, not the absolute documents, the revision history on all that stuff we'll discuss. But this 4.2 is the major one. People feel boring, but some like this documentation very much. I heard from one of a very good and very senior auditor to me when I'm working. He said like girls or ladies like doing a lot of documentation. That's why this work is basically allotted to girls or ladies to do more documentation. Okay, I don't know whether it's right or wrong. Correct me. Okay. So what is 4.2.1? I mean, why I'm telling this only the clause now, not explaining is when you enter into, I mean, as you move forward in your hierarchy of the QMS or in your QA or in your in your work, when you talk directly to somebody or to the auditor or somebody that your 4.2.4 is not proper, say something like you have not, there is a non-compliance with 4.2.1. Obviously, it gives an impression this guy is very, very, very okay, efficient in the QMS. When you talk in the terms of clause numbers, okay, suppose I come to you and say that 5.2 and 1, there is a problem with you. Then people think like, okay, this guy knows everything that is there in 5.2.1 or 4.1.2 or 4.2.4. If I say control of documents, think that, I mean, that's a very common word. You say control of documents or control of records. But I say 4.2.4, it gives a different image to you, different picture to you, even in your interviews or in your audits. Okay, use the clause number. Of course, remember what the clause is, like control of documents or general requirement. But when you talk with the clause number, no, it gives a very different I mean, different impression to the other person. think that you are in a master of the QMS, and you definitely need that a promotion or a job. Okay, and that's the reason I have put this slides of papers before. Just remember this. I mean, for God's sake, remember these clause numbers. Later, remember what's there in the clause. Okay, because remembering what is there in all clause is very, very difficult. Okay, you can have an bird's eye view or an overview on that and pick up 2-3 points in that particular clause. But going through total clause and understanding the clause, it's very difficult even for the auditor. So I'll tell you some smart ways how to work on this clause or remember this clause. Okay, that is on documentation, and 5 is on management responsibility. This is very important. And as far as the risk is concerned, for clause 5, some say it has a direct impact on the product or device. Some say may not. But I do feel that it has a very direct impact on clause 5 has a direct impact on the product. Not clause 5 alone, I mean some of the subclause in clause 5. That is, clause 5 is management responsibility, management commitment. Okay, I mean I have seen people of different commitments. Some work on the end of the day they need to do business, but some show some commitment for the ethics of 13485, all that stuff. Okay, we'll discuss what is the management commitment. 5.2 is customer focus. Okay, 5.3 is another important one, quality policy. This becomes very, quality policy is based on your company's scope. Okay, and I also tell you, generally there are some basic standard words used in writing a quality policy. Okay, but the funny thing is, people keep quality policy with big boards in their companies. Okay, in of course, quality policy you see in every lab or in every department, but no one understands the meaning of quality policy. Okay, because quality policy is a core objective or document for the organization. You should know what your quality policy is. And the second important question auditors is, tell me what's your quality policy? Your quality policy is directed towards your QMS and your business, and also on all the clauses that are linked with it. Okay, I'll help you on that. Okay, and 5.4 is on planning. And this is quality objectives, very, very important. You'll have a lot of emphasis in quality objectives. And the most important thing is quality object has to be quantified. You can't give a general statement, my yield is good, my yield is bad, or my clean room is good, or use the adjectives like my clean room is cleaner, okay, cleanest. It should be quantified, quality objectives, and any quality objective, whether you drive from the management till your COPA, mainly in clause 8, you have to quantify the quality objective. It's not that you give a general statement and say that everything is fine. Okay, that is where KPIs come in. Okay, the key performance indicators. And I'll be talking separately. We have a session on that, on data analysis, statistical data analysis, how we need to do. SPCs, statistical process controls, okay, statistical analysis, how to apply in 13485. And also we'll have need to understand what is Six Sigma, CPK, okay, process controls and all that stuff. That has to, the important thing is that has to be quantified. 5.42 is quality management system
Hello.
planning. Yeah.
So one question.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between quality objective and policy? If let's suppose today my objective is to learn ISO 13485. So my quality policy will be is to implement 13485. How it
No,
will be,
I'll
sir?
tell you. Yeah, that's a good question. See, quality policy is a summation of all your company's activities and also looking at what you are doing now and what you are looking at in the future. Okay, quality policy is summation of everything. Say, for example, in quality policy, you see this standard words like uh, the organization adheres to all the quality standards ISO 13485 and all quality regulations. Okay, and the organization provides continual training, okay, competency enhancement to the employees. The uh, the quality policy also includes, okay, continual improvement in the processes, and the quality policy also ensures that all the products are safe. Okay, there will be some standard terminology used where you are summing up, and at the end of the day, you'll say that there will be a continual improvement. I'll tell you what is difference between continuous and continual. Okay, end of the day, I'll say that the organization, okay, the quality management system will be benchmarked. Okay, use a very strong word, benchmark with compared to compared to others. So you know what is the meaning of benchmark. Okay, that is what is policy. In 5-6 sentences, you sum it up what you are doing in your QMS. Okay, the objectives, the important things in QMS, you don't quantify there, you just give it in a simple sentence form, but very effective, very powerful sentences. Okay. And when you come to quality objectives, no, your quality objectives, it comes department wise. Okay. Suppose my quality objective, if I go to production, I say that in production you have a lot of sub processes. You say that there will be improvement in the process and the yield will be improved by 10% and the rejection rate will be decreased by 5%. Extra, say for CAPA or for the PMS or for the regulatory guys, they'll have objectives that complaint rate will be reduced, okay, by 10%, or for a year this will be the complaint rate. Okay. So that are the objectives. Even for purchasing, they'll have the objectives. Even for maintenance, they'll budget. Everything will be quantified. You name the class anyway, and I'll be sharing you the quality objectives that have the quantification parameter. Okay, even regulatory also have a quantification parameter like what is your objective? Okay, if you look at next one here, what is your objective? See, quality objectives gives you an approximation where the company is moving. Okay, how good are your objectives? And sometimes it also creates nuisance if you don't meet your objectives. Okay, for that you need to create a lot of documentation or explanation why you haven't met your quality objectives, but that's okay. Okay, I'll share that with you.
Okay.
Yeah, Aman.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, just you can type any name of the company. Actually, I think I have kept it in the next slides when I explain it in details. Company operator, suppose I say like, I looked at the company, I mean, quality policy of few companies. You see 70-80% similar. Okay.
Yes, sir. It is similar.
Yeah, there's not much working there, but it again depends upon the scope of your organization. Okay, here we need to understand the responsibility, authority. There is a lot of difference between responsibility and authority. I'll tell you on that. And the communication, responsibility, authority, management representative. Actually, this few companies have a very strong management representative. A few companies, just for namesake, will be a management representative because it's close to the management, but it doesn't understand what's happening in the manufacturing unit or in the organization. I've seen a lot of companies where it's just like a rubber stamp, like the president in India. Okay, but it's always important, like, to have an management representative as a head of QC, to have an a head of regulatory, to have him as a management representative, then somebody outside the purview of the system, okay, who is very close to the management, to have the management, because this have a very direct impact when we go to the some of the country specific regulations, like say EUMDR. EUMDR, there is no management representative or something like that. Just say PRRC, person responsible for regulatory compliance. There is a separate clause in that. Okay, you need to appoint a PRRC, person responsible for regulatory compliance. So when you say I am the PRRC of the organization, you should have a complete understanding on what the organization is, what is the product, what is the risk, and of course on the QMS system. Okay, but since it is being mentioned in 13485, we can't exclude this. We'll discuss what is the duties, what is the responsibilities, what is the authorities of management representative, what should be his experience, qualifications, all that stuff. Okay, on the internal communication, there are a lot of things how you communicate internally, but it's not a big issue. Okay, this I am talking in clause 5, management responsibility, management commitment, customer focus, quality policy, planning, responsibility, authority, and communication. Saying in the clause you have subclause, and in the subclause you have still further divided into subclause. Okay, 5.5.1, 5.5.2, 5.5.3. I'll also tell you how the simple ways to remember the clause numbers. Okay, and 5.6 is management review. This is very, very important. I think there will be a lot of emphasis from this. Mainly on the review input output, because this directly connects to your COPPA, your production, your complaints and all that, and regulatory clearness. We'll discuss on that. Because see guys, I'll be sharing all the QSPs, SOPs on every clause and subclause of all that. Okay, don't worry about this. How the management, say if the management review, how it happened. Okay, what are the topics that should basically mandatorily should be discussed in the management reviews? What are the action points? I said inputs, what should be the outputs, how it is documented. Because management review document or minutes of the meeting, we call MRM. The outputs of the MRM are very important for the company. Okay, what the management decisions are, what they have taken. Okay, resource management, again, it talks of persons or human resources, infrastructure, work environment. Okay, these three are resource management. 6.1 provisional resources. It's a general one which talks about provisional, but 6.2 is human resources, very important. Infrastructure, very important, 6.3. 6.4 is also work environment and contamination control. Okay, in this human resources, there will be a lot of things that has to be done in competency and training. Of course, this happens between HR and the head of that particular department, like once the candidate is on the board, how you train, what are the different, I mean, there are different trainings that has to be given, how you measure the competency. It's not that you just give training and push him into the push him into the work process. You need to look at his competency, observation, and there are a lot of documents we'll discuss on that. Okay, infrastructure, buildings, all this. Okay, depends upon the organization, but there are some specific standards what we need to do, mainly when you come to the clean rooms. Okay, I'll discuss emphasis more on the clean rooms and the structure of the infrastructure. You should have a unidirectional flow of the materials so that there won't be intermixing or backward flow of the material. If there is a backflow, no, there's chance that there will be intermix of the material or what we call the conform the material that has passed the QC or conformed material with non-conformed material, non-compliant material. Okay, that's very, very important. I mean, the flow of the material that we'll discuss. Of course, end of the day, and you'll have the sterilization and it should come back to the finished goods stores. It starts from the raw material stores. First, it starts from the quarantine, raw material stores and how the material flows. Okay, we'll also discuss on clean rooms. Okay, working environmental, what are the work conditions? Again, depends upon the devices you're manufacturing. Again, it's linked to the scope of your company. Cleanliness of the product, there are different ways we clean the product, like different ways of sterilization or just cleaning with some antimicrobial liquids, all this stuff. And I know like this is a big headache for everybody. You have a microbiology lab. I know will be half-day audit, like in MDSAP microbiology, they do audit for 1 day. So what most companies do is like they outsource that activities linked to microbiology, like to get your sterility or endotoxin, bioburden, all from outside labs. Okay, if you want to build a microbiology lab, it's there are a lot of issues, a lot of they talk of a lot of cross contamination. I mean, biased results, all this stuff. Okay, so most companies, what I know is, but it's good to have an in-house microbiology lab when you have an R&D, because you can't go to outsource labs every time. It's costly. When you have a big batch size, that is fine. Okay, to outsource. But if you have very small
Like-
batch sizes, yeah.
Like
say,
say all disposable products.
yeah, high volume, high volume, like, yeah, as you rightly said.
Drapes, gowns.
Yeah, exactly. But you have something like implantables, which the volume is low volume products, but high value.
High cost, correct.
Yeah, high value and high cost. It becomes difficult. Okay. And this is one where you are really stepping into the story. Okay. Product realization. And product realization, okay, this is very important, but very tedious work also, product realization. Planning of production, this I will discuss with you how you do the planning for product realization, and that is linked to the risk management. Okay, risk files. Because if you don't do the product realization, product realization also includes a lot of other stuff like the design and development. Okay, and most importantly, design development, if you don't adopt, as I go back again, say like your risk should start from your R&D or your design development. Okay, then further propagates into other like in the production, but your planning should be risk-based, customer-related process, customer requirement, communication. These are pretty things. But I said no. This design and development, of course, we'll be discussing it as a separate session, and I really like discussing on this. On some point, I mean, this 7.3, you have again some clauses in this. What is design planning, design inputs, okay, design reviews, design verification, validation, design transfer, design controls, or design changes. How you do this? So, and the most interesting will be the verification and validation. Purchasing, yeah, important, but may not have direct impact. But I mean, some I think MD says like this doesn't have direct impact. But I feel like purchasing process has direct impact on the risk of the product. Okay, then the purchase process. See here, when I say product realization, you look at how big it is and how many important things are coming in. This is actually the real. Okay, you're stepping into the real world. Okay, here is you have product realization planning linked to QMS, I mean QMS and risk management. You have customer coming in. Okay, then you have design and development coming in. Then you have purchase coming in. Then fifth, you have production and service provisions coming in. And sixth, you have control of monitoring and measuring equipment. So 7.7, I mean, clause 7 is so vast. Okay, you have planning, you have customer related process, and the biggest is the design and development, purchasing 7.4, production and service provisions, okay, control of monitoring and measuring equipment, that's more on the calibration. Okay, that's very vast. Clause 7 and clause 8 is not vast, but really the what you call the heartbeat of the total QMS, like how your system is working. It gives a lot of feedback. Okay, whereas positive or negative feedback, like how your QMS is working. Okay, 8 point, I mean, clause 8 is measurement, analysis, and improvement. I think ISO would have framed some better words instead of measurement, analysis, and improvement. Okay, but still it's fine. Okay, general determine applicable monitoring and measurement, analysis, and improvement process. I too like this clause. Very important that this gives a lot of information about the company and the product. Okay, it directly speaks about what your QMS is. Okay, monitoring and measurement, because I said no. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and improvement processes, this is very general. But come to this 8.2. It gives 8.2 about the feedback. Okay, I'll discuss important. This is very, very important. Of course, feedbacks are proactive way of addressing the complaints. Okay, when you proactively go into taking feedbacks, okay, it tells you how the product is working and give you an overall idea what are the issues with the product, or what is the when I say issue, it could be positive or negative issues. So you should have a continuous customer feedback or flow of documents or flow of feedbacks coming in, day out. Okay, this has become very, very important in EUMDR. Of course, this is again linked to PMS and complaint handling. And complaints are something like retrospective. Okay, something happens, then you react. Feedbacks are not like that. It's proactive or prospective way of looking at it. You take the complaint and understand what's happening, what's the real world scenario. But complaints are something, it happens. Okay, then you need to react to it. So you have to be very proactive, and in this I'm also going to include one of the sections. That is some predictive analysis which I told. And reporting to regulatory authorities, this is very, very important as of now when there is a complaint. Based on the severity of complaint, how you are going to report to the regulatory body, whether it's in India or US or Europe. Okay, again, I'm telling you based on the severity. It's not that all complaints will be reported. Based on the severity, once you do a root cause, okay, there will be fixed number of days. If it is very severe or highly severe, that could lead to mortality, it has to be reported. But the common baseline is that every complaint has to be reported. Though they give some time frames like, okay, if it is very severe, 7 days, minor 2 weeks, some 28 days. But the gold standard rule is you can report every complaint as it comes the next day. Again, based on the severity of it. But of late now you see some complaints coming in because of misuse or not proper use by the end user. That can also arise complaints. Misuse in the sense they don't follow the instructions or you find them. I mean, I find 50% of the complaints mainly in some devices, medical devices, because of improper use, not linked to PMS systems. Okay, and see guys, how important is it? You have feedback, complaint handling, regulatory, reporting to regulatory authorities. Then you have the internal audit. Again, this shows you how the QMS is performing. Okay, again, this is something like a proactive feedback. Before you have the external audits, you better have very strict internal audits. I'm going to share a lot of information on the internal audits, okay, scheduling, special audits. Of course, I mean, the important thing I shared in the WhatsApp is like we are going to have an internal audit training sessions where you will going to become a certified internal auditor. I think I might take 2-3 sessions on this. Once you understand ISO 13485, you can become a very good internal auditor. But I'll tell you the tricks and trades of how to do this internal auditor stuff. Okay. So monitoring and measurement of process, monitoring and measurement of product. These are important. Process and product here where mainly in some companies they neglect this. Okay, control of non-conformities or non-conforming products, how you do them, segregation, identification, recall. Some do it very easily. I mean, just throw the products, what are their non-conformities. They throw everything in the stores. That becomes a big issue. Okay, analysis of data. Actually, I like this more, but I don't try to enforce this upon you. I'll tell you up to a level where it is important for you in QMS. I have done very depth analysis on, very depth understanding or education on analysis of data, basically on statistics or biostatistics. But it will be thrilling. But before I move from biostatistics, I have to tell you analysis of data. I have to tell one thing that once you have data, most of you know you are Gen X or Gen Z. Most of you know, as of now, data is very, very important. Without data, there is no AI or ML. So you need to accumulate lot of data. See, last 5 years data, last 10 years data, last 1 year data. Have huge data. Okay. And when you have data, first thing is you should understand whether that particular data needs application of statistics or application of analysis. Okay, just because you know analysis of data, don't do analysis or do statistical analysis for everything. Okay, there will be some where you need to do a very pragmatic, okay, very clear cut, okay, analytical way, with clarity, okay, why you are doing this, what is the purpose of doing statistic this with this, and I'm going to talk on this, and I'm going to tell in which clause you need to apply statistics and what statistics. Of course, during that time only I'll tell you the sampling size for different clause, like when you do QC, in process QC, finish QC, or in validation and verification, how much should be the sample size? Okay, if a test 2, 3 is enough, should I have statistically comparable sample size also in clinical trials or in clinical evaluation? What should be the sample size? Okay, there will be different sample size. Okay, I'll talk something on statistics, which statistics has to do, and I'll tell you very simple online methods of doing this. Okay, and improvement of kappa is there. There is one called correction, but now it has come out with corrective action and preventive action. And most of you know what is corrective action, preventive action. Somebody tell me what is corrective action. What is corrective action? Vaibhav? Aman? Arulmati?
So it's basically
Action
corrective.
take to prevent recurrence.
So basically, corrective action is like during the production or any process that we are following, if we have any shortcomings, then how we are going to come up with the what we say a solution, or what actions we have taken, what steps we have taken. That is we document and present.
What is
That's it.
preventive action?
It's just the action which we are preventing it for not happening it again. That is PA.
Yeah.
Basically, the outcome, whatever the outcome is there.
Yeah, I mostly agree with Arulmati, because corrective action is something, okay, I mean, there are two issues or 2 points which we need to understand about corrective action. One is corrective action is taken, okay, so that the incident doesn't occur again, what we call reoccurrence of the incident doesn't happen. Okay, we'll take corrective action, but corrective action is more a superficial thing that, okay, it's immediately we take some action. For corrective action, we immediately say, okay, that lot is outside and we have, or the batch is outside, that, okay, we have some incident that happened with that batch or the lot. Okay, there is, it could be equipment or it could be devices or it could be anything. If there is one incident reported based on the severity of incident, okay, we'll take immediate action. The immediate action could be, what will be the immediate reaction when there is a complaint? Can somebody tell when
So
there is
that-
a complaint? What will be the immediate reaction? If you are a QA guy, a QA head, or if you are in quality, it may not be the head.
Sir, we will create kappa.
No. First, you need to know,
Just
understand whether it's a complaint
find
or
out the root cause.
Root cause, then we will go with which product, like on which product we got the complaint on.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'll tell you the complaint handling procedure. First, when you hear about the complaint, first thing is first you need to get the details or the batch details or the product details or the lot details, whatever it is. Okay, get the details of them. Check your records, QC reports. Okay, because you have the traceability. That's what I mean. I think somewhere we miss the traceability. Yeah, here. See, you have identification and traceability, very, very important. So once you have the back traceability of the product, okay, you have the device outside and there was some issue by the lot number or the batch number, you should be able to trace back the device, okay, not, not only from the sterilization, if it is sterilized, okay, on which date it was dispatched, what are the storage conditions, okay, all the stuff from the raw materials, what are the raw materials used, what are the production, what are the equipment used, everything has to, it should be there in your BMR, the batch manufacturing records. You should be able to trace back it to up to the raw materials and check all your QC reports, okay, including your supplier documentation or supplier evaluation, everything. If you find any non-conformities, okay, during that batch, production of that batch, okay, it's very, very important that you need to keep watching the product, monitoring that batch of the product. If is there any recurrence? Okay, again, I am repeating based on the severity. If it is of say less severe, minor severe, again depends upon the. I'll tell you later, like how this complaints happen. Okay, one is the user end user, then second will be the complexity or complications with the patient. Okay. And the third will be, okay, end user, there will be a lot of things. Sometimes the technician will do or the real end user won't do. Of late, you see a lot of hospital technicians, lab technicians, all these guys doing. Even something like I heard, I mean, I read, unfortunately, I read a lot of news. Unfortunately, so I get so irritated. Like lab technicians are doing an angioplasty or stunting, which feels very stupid. You can gather a lot of data from this, mainly in Haryana and other rural areas. Lab technicians do a lot of critical surgeries. And yeah, one is I said the end user issues. Second is the patient, lot of complication or comorbidities with the patient. And the third is the directions of use. They don't follow the instructions or directions of use. They do it as if they're using, I mean, using something in a kitchen or doing some chana masala or something like that. Mix everything and do it. Okay. So where are we? Yeah, I'm talking about correct action. Yeah, in the flow, I forget something. I go to other topics. Yeah, because this is an interesting one which I find very appropriate linking. So the final
So,
thing, yeah,
so I have a doubt. This while doing kappa, investigation report and non-conformance report should be separate, or it can be together.
it has to be separate.
Okay.
It has to be separate in the sense you prepare it separately, but it for one complaint I'll tell you.
Content is
Yeah, content is separate.
similar.
See, I'll tell you for take a complaint, you have an complaint handling procedure. Suppose there is a complaint. How you handle the complaint? Just send a mail or you send the product directly, or it is recorded that there is a complaint, who receives the complaint, and from the complaint, what are the other information you get, all has to be recorded. It's not that you just take the complaint on phone or somebody tells you, okay, there is some issue, it is malfunctioning. Everything has to be, detailed information has to be, okay, taken from the complaint. Then only you will have sufficient ways to look into the root cause analysis. If you miss anything,
Correct.
okay, like something like what happened in Delhi blast. Okay, you need to collect everything to understand the root cause or really what happened. Okay, the NIA is doing this stuff, like collecting all. Okay, there is an incident happened, Delhi blast, Red Fort. They need to collect everything that is there, okay, around the area and understand the event, description of the event, and link it to a lot of other things. Suppose in medical years we need to link it to purchasing, or there are different ways of doing, say, fishbone, 5 eyes of copper. I'll tell you, this is a very interesting thing. I'll tell you a history of like why I mean, just do a lot of deep dive or do a lot of copper. Okay.
Sure, sir.
And the other thing is, okay, the worst case, what we do in CAPA is that we do a product recall. Okay. I mean, the severity is very high. Am I right? Vaibhav, do you agree with me?
Yes, sir. It's based
Yeah,
on the
only way we
what kind
can do
of the
it.
things happen.
Yeah, only way we do is we recall the product. But I mean, recalling the product is such a risky procedure. If it is pan India, it's fine. You can phone call and say that this batch has issues. But if it's globally distributed, okay, then you need to have an announcement. FDA has a system. MDR, EU MDR has a system. How you call, how you can quickly recall the product. Okay, after a particular morbidity or a severe incident happened, adverse event happened. Okay, before the other occurs, how to recall? Okay, so your system has to be in such a, I mean, it should be placed at such a high level that you can recall the products. Okay, you recall your devices after a first incident that happened and how you do it. Okay, that is where we step into the traceability. Okay, of course, identification is in-house, but traceability post-market, how you trace the product, how you trace your batches. Okay.
The
By,
recent,
pardon?
the recent cough syrup case, sir.
Yeah, that was the issue. Yeah.
Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, it was not only in Tamil Nadu. That cough syrups were seen in Madhya Pradesh,
Madhya Pradesh,
in
correct.
Bihar. Yeah, it went all over. But see, before two incidents happened, before it happened in 40, 50 children, it would have been recalled.
Correct.
So that is very important. How can you recall and what is the system you have to recall the products? Okay, that will discuss on traceability and recall and other procedures. Okay, but FDA has a very strong system of recall. I mean, I see it very, very, very poor. Though it's my country, I can't comment. But very poor in India. I need to have a lot of information. Okay, and then preventive action is something of a potential. It is a very potential complaint, a potential event. Okay, where you have something. Okay, it's also stopping the reoccurrence, but you do this action in a very permanent way that never in the life life cycle of the product or life cycle of the device this incident won't happen. See, corrective action is something you do temporarily or you recall and do something. Okay, but preventive action is something which you do with very, very seriously, with a root cause analysis. Okay, and a complete clinical investigation. Maybe you have to go back to the drawing board, working on your designs, something on with the designs. So, I mean, it's like you have to look at all angles from your raw material supplier. Okay, the QC reports from the raw material to the production, machines, calibration, environment, all this stuff, personal, sometimes, okay, is a competent personnel done or there is an overlook of that QC reports. I mean, storage, transportation. Okay, a lot of things come in, but the good thing here, what we can do here, guys, is like we are going to have an permanent solution for that issue. Okay, that it won't reoccur again in the lifetime of the device. Okay, that's a preventive action, but still I feel that for copper to have, I mean, for copper, there should be something, some adverse event has to happen. Okay. I mean, to enact copper. I mean, without any complaints, anybody takes copper. That's what I'm talking on, proactive approach. If there is no incident also because of your internal audits, okay, your customer feedbacks, okay, totally looking at your internal and all this stuff, you need to see where you are lacking, where is there is a possibility of, okay, having a non-conformity. Don't wait for the non-conformity to happen. And that is what we call trend analysis. You should see the trend. Suppose you are doing a production and there is something which is related to temperature. Okay, you have a mean temperature that has to run. Okay, and you have a deviation for that also. Temperatures, or there will be some parameters in production which we give mean and SD. Okay, for the temperature, if it is 40 plus or minus 2. Okay, it is always good if it runs on 40 because we validated and says that it has to run on 40. But it is crossing, okay, 40 to the upper or shifting to the upper side or the downer side of the deviation. It's going to 42 or 43 or down to 38. Okay, the negative deviation, 38 or 37. Then you can anticipate there is something going to be wrong. Okay, any process, I just took the example of temperature. There are a lot of other complicated things which you can understand by looking at the QC reports or the trend analysis that's happening. Okay, this could have a potential come. See, everything goes on the mean. Every parameter runs on the mean. The chance of having risk is very less. Of course, you can say 0. But if it keeps fluctuating up and down, okay, there will be a lot of scattered data. I mean, they will be moving up and down, and it will become very difficult to understand what's happening. That's where you need to have a trend analysis or analysis of data, trend analysis, predictive analysis to understand that there is something going to happen on the non-conformities. Okay, you can also look at your data in your QC and see how many rejections are happening, why the rejections happened, what is the reason. Do a root cause analysis for your rejections. Okay, don't always look at the market complaints. Do an analysis of why this rejection happened. Okay, take a copper there. So what we call that as more a trend analysis or predicative analytics, I'll tell you, that's going to be the order of the day. Then what is what we are discussing about the copper? You need to be very predictive so that either you hold the batch before you have a proper analysis or retest some more QC samples, or retesting should happen, or otherwise, like there should be large number of samples that has to be tested. Increase the sample size for testing. I know. I'll make you understand like what are the strategies when there is a complaint. Okay. And as I said, like in a medical device field, I mean, we should agree that there will be non-conformities, okay, major or minor, and there will be complaints. Okay, if somebody says, I don't have any NCs or I don't have complaints, any company says that I'm totally abiding as per the system of 13485, I don't have zero NCs, zero complaints, which means there are two things. Okay, either he's not having a customer or he's not marketing or there are no customers for him. Okay, and the second thing is either the customer has rejected him. Okay, when in the dynamics of this process of 13485, okay, I can challenge. Okay, you can't close anything with. Okay, I mean you can't close with zero NCs or everything compliant. I mean like a rock bottom. Okay, saying that this is the absolute benchmark. You go to any MNC. Okay, of late I think that MSMEs are doing a better work in compliance than MNCs. I mean, small companies are doing a better work. So, I mean, when you have complaints, take it as a positive feedback. Okay, that we have an issue we need to work on. I mean, that's where there will be a continuous process improvements that can happen. Okay, and now somebody can tell me.
Sir, one more question. Um, do every COPA needs VOE?
Not
Or
necessary.
Not
No, no.
necessary. Okay.
If it's a very high risk index, okay, what we call, see, if there is, I mean, when we talk about risk analysis, we'll discuss, I mean, risk management will discuss on it. The occurrence, if there is an frequent occurrence of the event, okay, that has to be addressed. Okay, one is occurrence, what we call probability or the occurrence of that particular event. Okay, even the severity is low, but it is occurring every time. It may not lead to severe morbidity or death or something like that. Simple, like say, if your labeling is not fine, you are not inserting the IFU or your IFU has mistakes. It's a simple thing, but they are having a lot of recurrence. Everybody is complaining. The occurrence is more. Then there is something wrong what you are doing there in the system. Okay, but it may not have a direct impact on the patient, or it may not have any severity, low severity. Okay, and that time you need to take serious action. If it is of just labeling or packing issues and other IFU issues also. Okay. One,
Okay,
because you have a lot of complaints coming in. And the second side is there will be complaints only one or two. The occurrence could be just one or two, but they are of high severity index. Okay, they are causing severe morbidity, something like the patient has to undergo another surgery or operation or some other surgical procedure because of the device, or he is having morbidity, or I mean the worst case could be the mortality in some of the implants. Okay, but you may have only one to, it's not like recurrent, it happens in 1,000 patients. then you need to take this seriously and do an very serious RCA and do some DOEs, perhaps recall the product. And I mean, I have done when I'm the head of QA for some years. We totally stopped production and gone back to the drawing board on designs. Okay, for almost 6 months. When there was, I don't name the company and device, there was I mean, two cases that happened on the same day where the patient died. Okay, it's a cardiac stunt. Okay, wherein while implanting, there is a problem with the catheter and it leaked, and suddenly the coronary artery ruptured. Okay, patient died on the bed. And there was another issue where they could not retrieve the catheter. It's when you can't retrieve the catheter from the coronary artery, it's almost like you're causing an artificial heart attack because the blood won't flow to the other side. Okay, immediately they can do a surgery like bypass surgery, bypassing that, but that hospital doesn't have a surgeon, cardiac surgeon. Okay, that's why high risk devices, it's not advisable to give in tier 1 or small hospitals where you don't have emergency or surgeons to attend in emergency when something goes wrong. But in big corporate hospitals, okay, you have the emergency services where immediately they will they can take the required action. Okay, and don't take this. What I said is not a gold standard, but it's my observation which I have seen. Okay, this is something on. So I mean, end of the what I am trying to make you understand is, do you remember the clause? What clause 4 talks about? What clause 1 is?
Oh,
What clause 2 is?
normative references,
Normative reference. Clause 3.
Terms and
terms and
conditions.
definitions.
Yeah, definitions, abbreviations, that stuff. And what is clause 4? I mean, clause 4 is a real,
General requirement.
yeah, real thing, real cake.
Yes.
Yes.
Quality management system.
Mainly on the documentation control of record. As a general one, 4.1. And 4. Basically, remember this 4.2.4, 4.2.5. Okay, these two are very important. And in many of, as we keep going through this, as we keep discussing in depth, no, you find this, okay, in every clause. Okay, because control of document will be there in every clause, 4.2.4 and 4.2.5. Okay, will be applicable for any clause. I mean, any clause. If you take 5.1, says that you need to have control on documents, control of records. Customer focus, it again says control of documents, control of. So this, I'll also tell you how to write SOP on control of documents. And most importantly, you should also, you know what is SOP. Okay. But there should be, I mean, some auditors ask, what is the SOP of SOP? Understood my point?
Large
Yes.
data
Yes, sir.
revision.
Yes, sir.
For writing an SOP, you should have an SOP.
Yeah, that too.
That is SOP of SOP. I mean, there will be some situations where the auditors go in such a depth. Maybe in internal audit training, I'll tell you all this stuff because there is a lot to discuss on this. And yeah, please remember at least not all the clause and subclause. Something like I said, remember 4.2.4, 4.2.5 because this will be there everywhere in every clause. Okay, quality objectives. Instead of remembering the clause, you need to remember your objectives. Okay, quality objectives. not necessarily the clause, but it's come in file. In the management, it comes. Okay, management representative not important, but the management review meetings, MRM, this is quite important. You need to remember the clause, MRM, what are the outputs. Okay, resource management 6.2, you need to remember human resource, mainly the competency and training. I'll share a lot of SOPs on this. Infrastructure mainly on equipment of maintenance. I see like important thing is on HAVAC. If you have a lot of clean rooms, they do a lot of validations on HAVAC, on the particulate matter, the microbial count, okay, the pressure and the humidity. I mean, daily monitoring of humidity uh, and temperature, the negative pressures, all that stuff. I mean, like it's like total HAVAC validation or clean room validations. And if they find anything, any issue deviating largely in clean room, no, it will become a major NC if it is a non-sterile product you are supplying. If it is sterile, again they trace back it to your microbiology lab and see what is the bioburden. Okay, if you are not properly maintaining the clean rooms, obviously the bioburden will increase. Okay, in the process, the bioburden will increase, and evidently the product bioburden will increase. When the product bioburden increases, okay, I think those who are in microbiology science, it infers that there will be increase in endotoxin levels. Because endotoxins are the dead end products of the bacteria or the fungus or the, these are the endotoxins which generally cause increase in body temperature. Okay, and I can go to the pharmacology of it. So you need to have, again, that's a important thing in clean rooms, as low as, I mean, again, you need to go for the classification of clean rooms, how much bioburden, particulate matter is all present, and the monitoring, how you do weekly, daily, you do it. Okay, the process, how you do it, air sampling or say settle pet method. There are a lot of things. So either you are doing for bacteria, fungus, or other organisms. I mean, characterization of the organisms also is important. Which organism also you need to characterize. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Our product is non-sterile, but we have clean rooms, and we said it as a control room because our product is non-sterile. But we have clean rooms just because to maintain this decontamination, and we used autoclaving also as a decontamination process. So we don't call it as a sterilization because we don't want to put the clause of sterilization in our
Yeah, that's fine, Akanksha. See, one is it's always good to have, I mean, as you said, control rooms or clean rooms, though your product is non-sterile or unsterile. It's always good to reduce the bioburden on the product. Okay, in whatever way you do, some do, I mean, there is some clause somewhere here, we will discuss on this, cleanness of the product. See, some swipe with alcohol or some disinfectants to reduce the bioburden. Some use like your company, like say class 1 lakh or class 10,000 clean rooms. Okay, some do under lab for laminar airflows to reduce the bioburden and particulate matter. Though it is unsterile, I mean, your scope says it's unsterile. Okay,
So the
but
sterilization clause is applicable or not applicable to our process?
applicable, not applicable. Yeah, again, I'll talk on
Okay.
But
not
sir, if the
applicable.
product has been autoclaved, then autoclave is another way of doing sterilization, if I'm not wrong. So how
No,
is
but
it
they say
not sterile?
the point is that their product is unsterile. Do you autoclave the product?
Yes, sir. We use autoclave for reagent only.
Yeah,
But
that means
already all distilled water and all reagents are sterile only. But we just autoclave for our standard practice and to decrease the bioburden, like you said.
yeah, then that is the two way of working. Like first, before you mix the reagent, you need to have the QC reports or QC tests that everything is sterile. Okay, what you are mixing in aseptic conditions. Okay, you have a reagent and it's a mix of some components or some liquids, which you say that they are sterile. Maybe you have used membrane filters of 0.02 micron, filter them in filtration units, and then you mix your reagents aseptically. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Then as an insurance, okay, or a additional conformity, you do autoclaving because they don't have any effect on temperature. There you do autoclave at 120 because the reagents don't have any effect on temperature. Okay, they won't denaturate or they don't sediment on autoclaving. Okay,
Yes,
what
sir.
I'm trying to say is before you autoclave and after you autoclave, the device or the reagent should have the same properties and performance. Your reagent before autoclaving, after autoclaving, okay, the performance or the reagent properties should not change. If they change after autoclaving, then you should look at what are the properties that are changing, and if they change, will it have any impact on the staining of your cells and other things, basically on the shelf life, storage, other things. So even generally common in any sterilization process, whether you take autoclaving, ETO, thermal or E-beam, okay, radiation. Important thing is before sterilization, we test the product, okay. And after sterilization also we test the product and see whether there is any difference in the product, okay, whether technical, you take dimensional, technical, functional, performance, okay, material, whatever your specifications are. Is there any change in the specifications? Okay, before and after doing the sterilization, whether it's autoclave or any other mode, if there is a change, is the change so significant that it is affecting the performance, okay, and the safety of the device. Okay, there could be some which may not affect. Say, I think, like, say, we do ETO sterilization and there is some residual ETO on the product, or the color of there may be slight change in the color of the device, but it may not have any impact on the uh, patient safety or performance. That is okay.
So,
Because
sir, is it necessary to do validation for autoclave process that before and after there no impact on the
no,
safety?
it's not called validation. Okay, of course, you need to validate your autoclave first, whether your temperatures, whether, I mean, with positive and negative controls, you need to see whether your autoclave at that particular temperature for 15 degrees, 15 minutes, 121 degrees, okay, is able to kill the organisms and the spores. Okay, that's the standard way of doing the validations. Okay, with positive controls and negative control. Okay, there are different ways. Like I can either you can choose the cultures, or you can do the suspension cultures, or use petri plates or the uh, agar media, and with petri plates you can see seeding them with the microorganisms and looking at the colonies. Okay, that is validation of autoclave.
Okay,
But
sir.
what I am talking here is the effect of the autoclaving, okay, Actually, you may not require autoclaving for your products because you are doing it all in sterile conditions. Am I right?
Yes, sir. But
But still you want to
for
do,
distilled, yes, sir.
because your
Not
distilled water
only
is,
reagents, but for distilled water, we are doing mainly.
So, sir,
yeah,
I
you
don't
can do
want.
it. Yeah, you can do it for distilled water. Actually, there is no problem with the distilled water, but you need to, I mean, there are, if you look at the IPR BP, you have different, what you call water, like it's a distilled water, purified water, water for injection.
Milky water.
Yeah, so you need to define what is that. Of course, I mean, but see that even water also after sterilization, you can look at the conductivity of water. Okay, actually, conductivity of the water
Yeah.
is a very good reference instead of looking at the TDS or total sedimented products. Okay, residuals, all that. Checking the water conductivity or even the pH of the water is a good way of looking at any changes that happened before and after sterilization.
Okay,
Okay,
sir. But sir,
there will
we
be
don't call
some,
it as a sterilization. We call it as a decontamination
yeah, you can say that.
But again,
I
sir, the
have a
But
pressure
because we
remains
are
the
but
saying
same
that
result.
sterilization clause is not applicable.
but
That's why.
you are but for you it doesn't come under the scope of sterilization. Okay, because your products are unsterile, and the most important thing is
Yes.
I suggest that you do, if you are only autoclaving water. Okay,
Hmm.
I think you are looking at not only the microorganisms, because in some of the reagents, I'll share a lot of data on that. Okay, it's not just on the bacteria or virus on that, but also on the endotoxins. Okay, there is a way you can remove
Yes.
endotoxins. See, in some of the instruments or some of the devices or some of the, mainly when you use serum or blood related products, okay, they have to be endotoxin free. Okay, it's not like
Yes.
you, there will be some endotoxins of 5 or 10, okay, units allowed, IU, international units allowed. Okay, for some devices, like say, if you have a big device or some blood bag or something, there are limits for endotoxins. But in biological samples, for some of the particular applications, the endotoxins has to be zero. And there are certain ways and processes to remove endotoxins, okay, using some chemicals. If you want that, I can share, because I mean, I was a consultant to a company who are doing this stuff, where they want zero endotoxin, and how to achieve zero endotoxin. There is a procedure how to do this. Okay, it's like simple washing procedure. Okay, with a very mild solvents, where you can achieve that zero endotoxin. Of course, as you said, if autoclaving is also resulting in zero endotoxin of the water, that's fine. But since again I'm coming back to that, if your scope says that you are providing unsterile, the end the end user should be taking the unsterile product, and he has to be ready to use the unsterile product. And if there is any complaint that is arising on sterility issues or say infections, contamination, that's not your job. Either in your IFU, you should mention that before using the product, it has to be cleaned with spirit or ethanol or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Also,
I know
one
about your
question.
your products are basically in vitro based. I mean, they are not contact with the body. But I'm looking at, say, when you use a reagent which has more endotoxin or mainly for cell staining, okay, they should not cause cell lysis, okay, and the morphology of the cell should not change, or the structure of the cell should not change when you add the stain. And more importantly, the
Okay.
cell lysis should not happen. See, they're all, I do understand when you add a strain or something in the staining methods, there will be some cell lysis, cell death that happens, but there is some limit for that. Okay, 98% of your cells should be mortal or alive. Okay, 2% cell death is allowed. Okay, this is what we basically do in blood bags or freezing of what we call stem cells or the fetal, placental fluids. Placental fluids contain stem cells. So when you are storing them, we need to see that there won't be any cell death when you're mixing with DMSO. DMSO is something like freezant. So I need to look at all angles, like, is there any effect of the staining on the cell structure, cell morphology, or it is killing the cells more than 5% or 10%? You need to define it.
Okay.
Okay, we can discuss later on this, but once you see your product specifications, applications, I mean, the internet use, you can understand this. Yeah, somebody was speaking, Aman or Vaibhav.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah,
Like in process control
yeah,
and in material flow,
yeah.
what is the difference? In process, we mention like from directors to end, how is it, sir? And in material, it is from department. What's the difference between process control and material flow, sir?
See, process control is basically, I mean, it should, it's more linked with your equipment, okay? Your equipment validation parameters. What we call it is a CPC, process control parameters,
Okay.
okay? It is also called performance capability index. That's what I said. I'll discuss this when I talk about Six Sigma. Okay, your machine capability based on your validations. Okay, and as you said, like your material flow. Okay, when it is coming from uh, a semi-finished good to the other department, or is it coming from the raw material stores? Okay, to the first step
Assembly
in
line.
production.
Okay.
Then you need to understand that the process, the material flow that is happening should have a unidirectional flow.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't have a unidirectional flow structure, but you should have controls that there won't be any intermix of the products or intermix of the semi-finished products. Okay, in the way of proper labeling. Okay, or in the way of not having the retrograde flow or reverse flow of it. Okay, backflow of the material. And if you have any issues with the non-conformity material in one department to second department, that has to be segregated and it has to be recorded. And based on your SOP, it has to be separately demarcated. It's not just it's there in SOP. It has to be demarcated and returned to the stores where it will be demarcated in red. Okay, if you have a separate cabin, that's fine. But if it's in the same store, you need to demarcate. Okay, with red or there will be a lot of colors. If non-conforming products coming from the market, there is one color. There are non-conforming products within your QC or within your manufacturing unit. Okay, there will be some separate space or storage area for your QC tested samples. Okay, there will be 5 or 6 areas where you need to demarcate. Okay, that I will tell you, I mean, somewhere, I think it comes in storage. Now it comes in non-conforming products. Here, segregation identification. There is also a recall procedures, and there is also, I mean, this we will discuss later on. In some companies, rework is allowed. Okay, when to do rework, after doing rework, what you need to do. Okay, again, you need to do validations and test the product. And how many times can you do rework? Just because to increase the yield of your production and decrease the rejection rates, you can't keep on reworking on the products, which we'll discuss. So of course, trend analysis, this was what trend analysis and decision making. See, if somebody can do this trend analysis and decision making, okay, I feel like that guy really understand or understood the QMS better. Okay, because here the important thing is the decision making. Okay, at least remember some clause. Overall, I gave you, and again I am telling a view overview of these things. But coming to the tomorrow session, I'll be, I mean, talking in, or discussing more on important clause, not just reading the definitions and reading all the stuff that is there. I'll just stress on very important points in each clause. Okay, I'll tell you some practical problems with those clause. Okay, and I explain you what the auditor will, I mean, really try to, I mean, arm twist you on that. He'll make you confused on that, but we should have clarity on what we are doing. This, like the auditors way, they come without taking breakfast and they confuse us. Okay, I'll tell you how the auditors behave, and as an internal auditor, how you should behave. Okay, it's not just knowing about ISO 13485 clause applications, but there will be a personality cult or personality attributes to be an auditor and internal auditor. Okay, I think I've taken more time. Sorry, just explain this, but most of the things I explained. Next tomorrow I'll scroll down. Actually, scroll down. It's already there here. Okay. This is an explanation. However, I'll share you the participant notes, all that stuff. Okay. In the scope, we'll discuss a lot. Something like in clause, you'll have exclusions and not applicable. This is very important. When you use excluded, when you use the word not applicable, because this is a very important point people misunderstand, and a very important point for the auditors to catch you. Okay, what you call excluded from your QMS or exclusions, and what you call non-compliant, I mean not applicable. Okay, I'll tell you, discuss you on that, and a lot of stuff. We'll write an SOP for some companies. Like, can I write an SOP for Metronic or something like G? Okay, this is all on, but I'll give you a lot of examples and what are the best practices to do. Okay, what are these normative reference? For example, the only normative reference in ISO 13485 is this. So there is no other normative reference. And it only talks about fundamentals, vocabulary, all the stuff. Okay. This is the only copy, so you should have it as an pocket book. And the important thing in operator reference is when you use a particular word from that 900, you should use the same vocabulary in all your documents. Okay, not only vocabulary of important points, even the grammatical points. Say, mostly you'll find a different language here when you read ISO. The organization shall implement. What shall means? Okay, it's different than a dictionary word. Shall, should implement, or must implement, shall implement. Well, there are different ways how you write these SOPs or quality management. Say something like here we are talking of normative reference. The normative reference is only one, but you'll have a lot of informative references, like all the standards, guidance documents, which you keep them as okay standard used in your products or in building your products. This will become informative references. Okay, key definitions we'll discuss, like Arulmati was talking on definition. Mainly we'll stick to the definition of medical device, what different regulation standards are there, interaction map, and most importantly, I'll talk on medical device grouping. This has become a very important and controversial thing, like how you can group medical devices into one family and get only one certification. One CE certification, you will have a group of products. Generally, earlier people used to think that one certification you will have different products of different dimensions or sizes. But there is a new, new regulation that have come in. You can club products or group products as a family. Okay. If the intended use is same and the material of construction is same and something like the process is also same, not necessarily that the dimension should be same. Okay, the intended use. Okay, I'll tell you some examples how you group the products. Mainly you see it in IVDs, like in 21, I'm sorry, UMDR 2017-746 talks of, because when you group it, no, suppose you have 100 devices, you can't get a certification for 100 devices. I mean, CE certification, it will cost you crores. One device they are taking 40 to 60 lakhs. Okay, so you need to have a logic how you can group the products and limit to I mean less number of devices or less number of family of devices, and then get the CE certification. That will really help your management to bring down the budget for your regulatory certifications. Okay, I'll discuss that also. I think I have taken more time, sorry for that. And tomorrow we'll walk the talk. What we have talked today, we'll walk for that. Okay. And see, I'll give some best practices. I'll also tell you some auditors questions, how the auditors try to confuse you. Okay, for everything, every clause. And also later we look at some MCQs, auditors notes, what are the common answers. Okay. And after this, after that class, ISO 13485, I want to switch to 14971, that is risk management. Very, very important. I said, as Asif Munir said, the chief marshal of for him, if Kashmir is the jugular vein of Pakistan. You know jugular vein? Many of you know jugular.
So,
It's run towards your neck.
Sometime back, Asif Munir said the Pakistan, that time he was army chief, now he became chief marshal or field marshal. So he is in charge of Army, Navy, Air Force without immunity. I mean, that's an amendment that happened in Pakistan Parliament. It's not relevant to us, but why I'm quoting that is like a jugular vein. I mean, our risk management file, our risk management is a jugular vein. It's like if anything happens to risk management, no, the total system will collapse if you are not vigilant with the risk management. That I'll discuss. I mean, I really like risk management. I mean, talking about risk management and how it really helps. I mean, it's not a topic of interest basically, but how it really helps in giving the best product, best quality product, reducing the residual risks to the minimum. See, any device you can't make any device zero risk. There could be some in class A or class 1, but still they carry some risk. Okay, zero risk is not possible. Any risk, I mean, this we discussed, but still how we can reduce risk without affecting the performance and safety of the device. Because when you try to reduce the risk, no, there will be an proportional decrease in either performance or increase in risk or increase in increase in adverse event and decrease in performance. That I'll tell you how we can find and balance on risk management and to have the best possible product. Of course, this, as I already explained, later the sessions will talk of integrating this QMS with AI ML class-wise. Okay, thanks guys for your time. Actually, sorry, I was not looking at the clock. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, take care. My class is up to 8:30. I mean, it's up to
It's fine, sir, but
yeah. I thought it's up to 9:30 because earlier I used to take for 3 hours from 6:30 to 9:30. That's with IBSC AMTZ. That's there in Vizag.
Vizag.
Yeah, that's a long back after COVID. But now I had my own organization. And the best will fit my company. Okay, we'll go ahead for tomorrow, and I think tomorrow it should be more. I mean, guys, I tell you, interact more with me. Okay, ask questions, make it a lively session because, again, I'm saying, I mean, I will be very true and open to you. Unlike the regulatory documents, I feel a lot of get disconnected somewhere when I look at ISO 13485. Of course, some topics are interesting, but it's feel like so no quality you find so logic rational when you're going through this. But the worst case is that this is more important than regulator. Okay, take care and we'll discuss more tomorrow. Okay, bye.
see you tomorrow, sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, sir. Great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can post to me.
Sure.